call the meeting to order. Please say the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oops. Please take a moment for silent reflection. Roll call and quorum check. Marianne?
Mr. Rashka?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer?
Here.
Mrs. Karapalski?
Here.
Mrs. Dubard?
Present.
Mrs. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Wigan?
Here.
Thank you.
Introduction of no guests tonight. Could I have approval of board meeting minutes from the regular meeting of 5/19/20, please? Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion, Heather Dubard.
I'll second.
I have a motion for Mrs. Dubard, a second for Ms. Karpowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Board trustee reports. Does anyone have anything for tonight?
No.
Okay, thank you.
5/19/20,
2020 budget
please.
hearing
Could I
by
have a motion, please?
Caitlin Tokarczyk.
Good evening. Okay. And I'll begin. Welcome to the 2021 budget hearing. Our objective is tonight is to present the 2021 budget hearing in the New York State required 3-part format and to provide more information on the detail in the budget. At the Cheektowaga Central School District, our vision is to inspire. Our mission is to provide every student with the resources and opportunities for academic success and personal growth. And our goal is to inspire a high level of learning for all students. When we undertake the budget process, we're really making a plan for our expenditures in the subsequent year. So when we're planning our expenditures, we are focusing our attention on utilizing the 4 cornerstones to improve student learning. We're focusing on the whole child, and we're focusing on creating opportunities for our students that incorporate 21st century skills. When we work through the budget process and discuss budget priorities, we are prioritizing building a fiscally responsible budget that the community can support. We prioritize continuing to fund instructional, extracurricular, and athletic programming, especially now in these uncertain times. We prioritize reductions and additions to maximize the effectiveness of our educational spending. And we prioritizing meeting our short-term needs in this time of fiscal uncertainty while continuing to project and plan for our long-term success. At a very high level, here are our 2021 budget highlights. Our total budget is just over $47 million. This is a $1.3 million increase, or 3.03%. This represents a tax levy increase at the cap of $629,000, or 2.5% increase in levy. When we went through the budget building process, and given the recent revenue changes and economic downturn due to the COVID-19 situation, we had to make a significant amount of budget reductions, in fact, to the tune of about $2 million. So we've reduced contractual expenses. These primarily are professional development costs and conferences. We've reduced BOCES service expenses. We've reduced supplies and materials, or planned supplies and materials, of $298,000. Almost every supply and material line in the district will be reduced 75% in the subsequent year. We've reduced support staff salaries and benefits. This includes instructional aides, clerical support, and some facility staff. We've reduced instructional staff $816,000. This is one retirement without replacement, some movements of salaries into grants, some reductions of teaching staff and PPS staff, for a total reduction of $2 million. So as I previously mentioned, we are presenting tonight the proposed expenditures in its required three-part format. Previously, when we've discussed the budget, we discuss it in functional areas almost exclusively. So we talk about special education as a function, health insurance has its own function. But tonight we're talking about it in terms of the three required expense areas, which are administrative expenses, program expenses, and capital expenses. Our administrative expenses are increasing approximately 5% year over year, program expenses increasing 2.2%, and capital expenses increasing 6.5%. This gives us our total year over year planned expenditure increase of $1.3 million or 3.03%. Our first category of expense is administrative expense. So if you're looking at the budget newsletter, you'll actually be able to follow along with the planned expenses. These categories are the same as what's presented in the newsletter. I'll just be discussing briefly the material changes year over year. The first category here is finance, or first category with material increase is the finance category. This increase is due to an increase in salaries. We added a finance staff member in 1920. The staff costs are increasing $100,000. This is due to primarily to legal fees increasing. That's where legal fees have to be recorded. Central services are decreasing slightly due to BOCES printing and data processing costs decreasing. Special items, this is the district level insurance policy, increasing slightly. Administration and improvement is curriculum and building level administration. This is wage increase. And employee benefits, these are employee benefits for all the employees that are accounted for in any of these previous categories. So this gives us our total category increase of $222,000 or a 5% increase. We go to our next category, is the largest of the three. It's our program expense. Administration and improvement in this category is a different kind of expense than we just talked about in the administrative category. This decrease is due primarily to decreased professional development planned in the 2021 school year. Teaching regular school and programs for students with disabilities both changed very little year over year. Occupational education expense decreasing almost $200,000. This is due to change in enrollment of our students attending BOCES occupational education programs next year. The teaching special schools line, that's where we account for our general education summer school program. And because we will only be running a very small amount of programming at the high school level, this expense has decreased significantly in the 2021 year. Pupil personnel services, this is a staff reduction in that area. The largest change year over year here in our program expenses is pupil transportation. So we're anticipating a significant increase in the rate paid to our transportation provider in the 2021 school year, and that's where this is accounted for. Employee benefits are the benefits for all employees paid in these previously listed categories. And our interfund transfer to special aid, this is where we account for the special education summer school costs, and those will be decreasing slightly given that we'll be running a virtual program this year instead of an in-person program. So our total program expense change is $797,000 or 2.2% increase. Lastly is our capital expenses category. And you may be wondering, does this include our Union East capital project? And none of these costs are related to our 2020 Union East capital project. All of those capital costs are accounted for in a separate capital fund specifically for that project. So all of these capital expenses are related to just our general ongoing activity in the general fund for the 2021 school year. The central services line is all buildings and grounds and facilities, facilities management, which is an approximately $97,000 increase year over year. Special items, $304,000 increase. This is where that property tax refund will be paid from that we've previously discussed. So that's where this expense is classified. Employee benefits relates to employees paid out of the central services codes. Debt service is decreasing slightly, which we've also previously discussed. And this interfund transfer to capital is the capital outlay exception project, which is the small amount of capital work the district has done for the past several years on an ongoing basis. This gives us total capital increase of $372,000 or 6.5% increase over the prior year. So if we look at it all together, our total administrative program and capital expense, a budget increase of 3.03%. Our capital costs make up 13% of our total budget, administrative is 10%, and program is 77%. If you're comparing it to last year, we are up approximately 1 percentage point in capital spend and then down 1 percentage point in program spend. So that completes the picture of our planned expenditure for the 2021 year. And now we'll turn our attention to our 2021 revenue projections, which is the other half of the budget equation. Our revenue is in 4 primary sources. That's local revenue, which is mostly property tax, our state aid, federal receipts, and then use of fund balance. And I'll go through each of those briefly. The state aid, as discussed in the last work session, due to the recent economic downturn, we expect $73,000 less in state aid in 2021 than we received in 1920, and that's detailed here. It's also important to note that we anticipate state aid to be reconciled over in 3 different periods in the 2021 fiscal year. So our budget right now represents our maximum spending plan given these revenue projections. But if our revenue comes in less than projected, we can during the year make reductions to our expenses again if our revenue is significantly cut at the state level. The next component of our revenue, the next biggest component of our revenue is our property tax levy. We are planning on levying to the cap, that's $25 million, an increase of $629,000 over the prior year, or a 2.5% increase. The estimated tax rate is $18.53, which is a 45-cent increase over the prior year. Again, I'd like to point out that this is at an 83% equalization rate. The town of Cheektowaga was originally planning on a 100% equalization rate for the 2021 year, but given the COVID situation, won't be pursuing that next year. So this is assuming, again, that 83% equalization rate. Our last major source of revenue is our use of fund balance. And you may recall prior to tonight in one of our very early budget meetings, we had discussed reducing the amount of fund balance that we're using in any given year to fund our current period operations. And then the COVID-19 crisis happened, and we're facing a lot of fiscal uncertainty right now, not knowing if state aid will be where we project it to be, not knowing if sales tax will be where we project it to be. So we will be using $1.6 million of fund balance in the 2021 budget in order to hedge some of that uncertainty about revenue in the subsequent year. So we are increasing our use of unassigned fund balance, approximately $1.1 million, to give us that total use of $1.6 million. You may also be wondering how we know we can use $1.6 million of fund balance, and that's because we do ongoing projections. And so we project that given the change in our operation this 1920 year, based on the COVID situation, we will have enough in fund balance at the end of this year in order for us to save it and carry it forward and to offset our subsequent year budget with it. So if we take a look at our revenue summary, all in total, our local revenue is just about $29 million. The biggest part of that, of course, is the property tax levy at $25 million. This category also includes Erie County sales tax, pilot revenue, rental of real property, and other small miscellaneous revenue sources. We anticipate New York State aid at $16 million, federal aid at $300,000. This represents Medicaid revenue. Interfund transfers of $10,000. We receive a small amount in revenue from our grant operations. And then our use of fund balance and reserves of $1.6 million, which gives us our total of $47,272,614. Lastly, if a budget is defeated twice, we would have to adopt a contingent budget. So if we were to adopt a contingent budget, we must first remove non-contingent expenses and then any ordinary contingent expenses. So our total 2021 contingent budget would be just over $46 million. That would be a required reduction of $629,000. So a contingent budget would require that we do not levy any more than we did in this current year. So we would have to reduce $629,000 in expenditure. This would be required reductions of some equipment, some supplies, some contracts, and then anything, if that number didn't get to $629,000 in reductions, we would have to reduce any non-mandated things like athletics, electives, extracurriculars, those types of expenses. Lastly, the 2021 annual budget vote and trustee election, a little different this year. All absentee ballots must be received by 5 p.m. on June 29th. And if there's nothing else, I'll turn it over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's June 9th, not 29th.
June 9th. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
It's okay. Well done. Thank you so much. That was a good, good presentation. So now we can entertain any questions via the chat. I think there are instructions on the YouTube channel on how to ask questions. And Mary Ann, you're going to let us know if there are any questions, correct?
Correct. And there's a little delay.
Okay.
Okay, so. Okay.
Okay. That means we can continue with our board meeting.
Okay, so now we need to open it up. Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate it. It was a great presentation. We need
Really
to open it up to any citizens open forum. I don't think there's anyone to address the board tonight. There is no attorney's report this evening. Superintendent's report, please, Mary.
Good evening, everyone. So our first item of business is a retirement. So it is with regret and great appreciation that I ask that you approve the resignation for retirement purposes of Kim Godzik from her position as teacher aide. She's been assigned to Union East and she's been there since 2002. An excellent employee for us.
Could I have a motion to accept the retirement of Kim Godzik with regret and appreciation? I'd like to thank her very much for all her years of service. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion. Carol.
I'll
And
second
a
Heather.
second. I have a motion by Ms. Kropalski, a second by Mrs. Dubart. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Our next item does not require board action. It is just a notice of paid leave. It was for a CCTA member who was planning maternity leave on or about June 10th. However, her baby did arrive early and her leave will begin on today. That is all the business that we have this evening, and we do need an executive session to discuss the employment matters of a certain.
Could I have a motion to enter into executive session to?
I'll make a
discuss
motion that
The
Schaefer.
employment matters of a particular employee, please. Motion by Mr. Schaefer and a second by
I'll second Heather Dubard.
Mrs. Dubard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. We'll go into executive session. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Are we back in regular then?
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Could I, our meeting then for tonight is adjourned. Could I have a motion to end the meeting?
I'll make the motion, Heather Dubard.
I'll
And a
second
second?
it, Tom Raska.
I have a motion by Mrs. Dubard, a second by Mr. Raska. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Meeting is ended for tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.